Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Mental Health and Emotional Intelligence Ask Me Anything. I'm Charleston Gaines, your host, and I'm excited to be here. I'm just doing this every week. I have three very good questions I'm excited about answering. And I just want to let you know that I'm just here to serve you guys. I really appreciate you guys. And what I want you to do is just post your questions in the comments. So three questions were submitted to me that I'm going to answer. But if you have a specific question about mental health or emotional intelligence, just put it in the comments. I'll see it and I'll answer it. We can have a conversation about it right here. So without further ado, I just want to jump on it because I'm excited about it. So this first question, I love this question, right? It says, when does emotion regulation develop? So, for those of you that don't know, emotion regulation is considered the second domain of emotional intelligence. So, there's four domains. There's self-awareness, emotion regulation, social awareness, and a relationship management. Now, if you're familiar with my work, a lot of my content, you know that I kind of modify that a little bit. So, for example, the second domain I say is self-regulation because emotions are physiological. And it's important to realize that because that ties directly to this question of when does emotion regulation develop? So, emotion regulation develops really right from birth, right from the first time that the parents hold the baby, And the thing is, you never stop developing your emotion or self regulation skills. It's something that applies across your lifespan. But understanding that emotions are physiological helps you to understand that emotion regulation starts from day one. And so the way that happens is we have we have all of these different senses, right? And our bodies tell our brain things. What I mean is like for babies, your body tells your brain it's hungry. And so then the brain has to respond to the body, what are we going to do about this need for food? And then the baby cries. So it's not obviously a very complicated process. We're all very aware that babies cry when they're hungry. And so what happens when you're a baby is you want these needs met and you don't really know how to meet those needs, and you can really just elevate the intensity. I'm talking about like babies and toddlers. They can really elevate the intensity. They can escalate the chaos really. And it seems that way if you've had kids, raised kids, you know that babies and toddlers can elevate the intensity and the chaos very quickly. But in the very beginning, when they're born and they have these needs and they're held, what happens is we have these mirror neurons, and what we do is we imitate what we see or hear or feel. And if you pay attention, you'll notice that you do this yourself. When someone is talking to you in a low voice and they are whispering, you probably lower the volume of your voice. Or when you see someone bang their head on something, when they bang their head on something, you will grab your head and you say, ow, but you didn't feel any pain, but you were mirroring what you saw them go through. The same thing happens with emotion regulation. So when the baby's head is on your chest and its body is pressed to your body in a time of stress, like when a baby's hungry or in some other form of distress that it obviously can't communicate, the baby's body feels your body, so it feels your heart rate and it feels your breathing. And we can also you put your hand on the baby's back. And so what happens is because of the mirror neurons, the baby's heartbeat will begin to mirror your heart rate, and the baby's breathing will begin to mirror your breathing. And so when you're babies and they're toddlers and they are having tantrums or whatever, if they are calmed with the physical touch, then they learn how to do that themselves. So for example, there may be times where babies they're struggling, there's some kind of chaos in their life, right? Which means, they're hungry or something like that, or they want attention. And then what happens is they get picked up, they get held, and then they feel a sense of safety and security, because their caregiver is there giving them care. And so their heartbeat will match the heart heartbeat of whoever's holding them, and the breathing will match the breathing. What they eventually learn is that this calm breathing is associated with emotion regulation. So you'll find toddlers and kids as young as 3 and 4 years old, some are better to regulate their emotions than others. And the reason why is because they have been able to learn how to imitate their caregiver's heart rate and breathing. So emotion regulation starts from the very beginning. And so if you are a new parent and you would like for your kids, your babies to be able to regulate their emotions, start with that. Start with the hugs, start with the affection, just the physical touch, rubbing the back, rubbing the chest, things like that. And even then, they can feel your pulse through your hand, and then their body will begin to imitate that. And they will learn, that that's part of the soothing process. And then they learn how to soothe themselves. So it's very important. And if you want your kids to really grow up with the healthy sense of safety and security and learn how to manage their emotions, it starts with hugs, it starts with affection, it starts with the physical touch because there's a lot of conversations you're not having with newborns and infants, but they feel your energy. When you're calm, they can calm down. So that's when emotion regulation starts. It starts from day one. It starts from the first time the baby is held by the mom or dad, and it continues throughout life. And so you never get to a point where you have mastered emotion regulation and you just never have to think about it again. It's something that you want to continue to practice. And then just as you go through life, from kids in elementary school, adolescents, young adults, they can bring these lessons with them, right? A lot of times, what happens in adulthood when you're faced with some kind of trauma or some kind of emergency, you will resort back to the last time you faced a similar threat. And what did you do then? And did you survive? And if the answer is yes, then you'll revert back to that behavior. And so, if that behavior when you were younger was to breathe deeply and calm down, then you can take that with you into adulthood, and you'll find that there are some adults who seem like they're emotional wrecks. They can't control their emotions and they're out of control. And then there's other adults who are able to calm down, they're able to relax in the chaos. And so much of this stems from childhood. We often talk about adults who are dealing with certain mental health issues or emotional issues, and we will say that maybe it goes back to their childhood or something like that. But the same is true of adults who are able to regulate their emotions. And the same is true of adults who are able to be respectful or to manage themselves in different, traumatic situations. It's from the training, and the training on emotion regulation starts very young and then develops over the lifespan. Again, I just want to say if you guys have any questions, post them in the comments. And thank you so much for joining me live. Those of you who are watching, and if you're watching the replay, if you can just put replay in the comments, I'd appreciate it. Let me know that you saw it. Let me know if you got something out of it. Again, I'm Charleston Gaines. I am the emotional intelligence life coach, and I'm here to help you replace misery with happiness. So I'm going to move on to the next question. And this question is so powerful. And I believe that so many more people can relate to this than even realize or will even admit. The question is, how can I heal with more than talk therapy and medications? That is so important, right? It's so important. You know, how many of us know someone who's been on medication, right? Where there's antidepressants or anti-anxiety medication, something like that, and they don't like the way the medication makes them feel. They don't like it. Some of them makes them feel like a zombie. Some of them feel like there's no effects. Some of them feel like they're just taking too many pills, and so they want to get off the medications, but they don't know how. And other people have been to multiple therapists, and they feel like it doesn't do any good. I've known people who will figure out what to say, what answers and responses to give to appease the therapist, but they don't feel like they're getting better. And I'll tell you, most of the clients that I've had have been to therapy for at least 2 or 3 years and they didn't get any results. And for a lot of people, there's different techniques that work for different people, and so the medications and the talk therapy, they just don't work for some people. They need to do more. And again, like I said in the beginning, emotions are physiological. And that's why people need more. When it comes to overcoming trauma, when it comes to healing, when it comes to really just moving forward and moving closer to living your best life, you have to feel safe within your own skin. When you think about trauma responses, what happens with a trauma response is that you feel like you're in danger. There's an imminent threat. And so you respond with your whole body. You don't just think you're going to die and try to think your way through it. You get up, you move, you try to escape, you do something. The fight or flight principle applies to your entire body. And so when you react that way to trauma, quite often therapy has to be the same way. And so, which leads back to the question, right? How can I heal with more than just talk therapy and medications? So you have to get your whole body involved. You have to do something to make you feel safe within your own skin. And what can you do to get your body moving that is therapeutic for you? So what I want to do is just give you some different examples, and then what you can do is try to find some in your local area. And what I've done with my clients is I've I've told clients different things that they could do, because they've tried talk therapy and we've made a lot of progress. But I explained to them that they need to feel safe within their own body. I explained to them that you have to do something. Your whole body has to heal from the trauma, not just your thoughts, not just your feelings, your whole body, because the body remembers the trauma. When I say the body remembers the trauma, what I mean is that your body remembers how you survived the last trauma. And I'll give you an example. Is just something that I went through. A classmate of mine. I was in this course. It was called NCO Academy. It was a 6-week course when I was active duty Air Force, and we had these jets that would fly overhead. We were at this base that also repaired, fighter jets and other things, other equipment, right? But major repairs. And so when they thought certain fighter jets were good to go, they had to test them out. They would take them supersonic. And while we're in the classroom, you could hear the sonic boom. And one time, the sonic boom seemed to be a little louder than usual. And everyone noticed, right? Everyone just kind of jumped because that's what we do naturally, right? We react to loud noises, loud bangs. But in that moment, one individual was able to get completely under the table and take cover. That was his trauma response. And so, what can you do to feel safe in your body so that you don't have trauma responses like this individual? Really, there's a lot. There's things that you can do that are incorporated with therapy, such as equine therapy. Equine therapy is the integration of horseback riding with therapy. And there's other things that can go with horseback riding, of course, like cleaning the horse, taking care of the horse, cleaning the stables, things that get your whole body moving. And what happens is you create a safe space. You turn off the stress response, you turn off the fight or flight, and that actually opens your mind up to better process the trauma or to process whatever you need to heal from. What you want to do is you want to remove the blockage that comes from the emotional part of the brain. And when I say the blockage, what I mean is that there's information processing centers of the brain that don't have access to that information because it is stored in the body. And so when you are able to feel safe in your own skin and take your body to a place where you feel safe, then you're able to essentially funnel more of that information to the information processing center of the brain so that you can process the trauma, process the hurt, the pain, whatever it is, the grief, and then heal from it. And so equine therapy is one way. Another way is art therapy. Art therapy is the same way where if you're going once a week, for example, then once a week you end up in a space where you are using your whole body. Whether you're standing or sitting, you're using your whole body to paint or do sculptures or to build something, drawing, something like that. Your body feels safe, you're able to relax. And when I say your body feels safe, I'm talking about turning off the stress response. Your body literally recognizes this is a safe space. We routinely come here and I can completely relax. And so your body turns off the cortisol and adrenaline production. Those chemicals block your ability to fully process information. I mean, when you think about someone who's on an adrenaline high, maybe they just escaped from some emergency, they're not able to calmly think about things because their body is in fight or flight, not just their mind. And so, art therapy and equine therapy are two very effective forms of therapy where you integrate an activity that gets your entire body moving and involved so that you feel safe throughout your entire body. There's other things that you can do, in addition to therapy. Maybe your therapist doesn't offer those kinds of activities, right? Maybe you're not talking to an art therapist. And the same thing goes when clients come to me. I don't lead art therapy classes. I don't lead equine therapy. I mean, we talk through these things, but then I will tell them sometimes that they need to bring more of their body, and quite often that happens when I'm dealing with clients who have experienced more trauma or more anxiety and depression as well, because those three often are comorbid. And so I'll tell them to check out a Tai Chi class or yoga. Yoga and Tai Chi are very effective. Also, mindfulness meditation, just to begin a meditation practice and a gratitude journal. A lot of times we hear things like gratitude, and there's so much talk about gratitude. There's so much of it being thrown around like a buzzword. But when you look at the science of gratitude, that's why it has to become a daily practice because it enables you to turn off your stress response, turn off your fight or flight, because you cannot be fully grateful and fully angry or scared at the same time. The brain doesn't allow for that. And so what happens is when you practicing gratitude, when I say practicing gratitude, I'm talking primarily about filling out your gratitude journal daily, right? Just putting entries in your gratitude journal daily. And again, it turns off the body, you turn off the brain's production of cortisol and adrenaline, increases production of dopamine, serotonin, really enables you to think and to feel good. And the more often you do that, the more you move towards healing. And then you can do the mindfulness meditation as well. And for the mindfulness meditation, understand that you don't always have to have the music, the candles, the rug. You don't have to have the app. You don't have to have all of these accessories. You can really meditate anytime, anywhere, whenever you begin to feel a little anxious or you begin to feel a little sad or a little angry. You can regulate your emotions through mindfulness meditation. And when you do that often enough and make it a daily practice, it helps you to heal from whatever's hurting you. And so then the last question that was asked of me, I love this question as well. These are all really good questions. I appreciate you guys for submitting these questions. And, again, if you have more questions, submit them in the comments. If you're watching the replay, you can still submit your questions in the comment sections, and I can answer you directly if that's what you would like, or I can include the question in the next episode. So, this last question is, can money buy happiness? And I love this question because people will tell you money can't buy happiness. And I know one thing that's frustrating is when rich people tell you money can't buy happiness, right? When you see a YouTube video of a billionaire saying, "Don't chase the money, money can't buy you happiness." Millionaire, someone says something about just being who you are and the money will come to you, and but if you focus on that, you won't be happy. And people have all of these different things to say, but if you're broke and unhappy, you may feel like, yeah, I'd be happier if I had some more money. And a lot of research has been done on this very topic, right? So I'm not just giving my opinion here. Everything that I tell you is based on research. But first of all, when it comes to money, it's more about the resources than the actual dollar amounts, right? So, for example, looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, safety and security are first and foremost, right? So, when it comes to your happiness, you're looking for food, shelter, and clothing. I don't believe that anyone can be, well, I will say that it's hard to be happy if you're homeless. It's hard to be happy if you don't have food, shelter, and clothing. It's hard to be happy when you're starving. Um, And so, how do we get food, clothing, and shelter? We get it with money. And then there are other things that you need to survive, depending on where you are, right? Depending on society. So, if you're in an area where you can't grow your own food, or you don't have your own livestock, or you don't have a well to pump water from, then you have to pay for those things. You have to pay for groceries. You have to pay for the food, the water, the electricity. You have to find a way to get those things to your home, such as going to the grocery store, things like that. So all of those things take money, and so you realize, what I'm saying is that as as you begin to just acquire the resources that you need, it takes money to get to those things. So it's not that money is buying happiness; it's more that having access to money enables you to acquire the resources that you need. And an example of that is, paying the electric bill and buying groceries. And then from there, what happens is as the money increases, you can acquire more things. But there's a point where the acquisition of more things no longer makes you happy. And that's a lot of what you see in these YouTube videos and these, speakers, guest speakers, professional speakers. You hear them talking about acquiring more things doesn't make you happy. And it's true, you get to a point where that doesn't elevate your happiness. A lot of times what happens is the desire to acquire these things is based on social comparison. It's based on you looking at what other people have. For example, a study was done showing an individual's need to buy a new car. And so your desire to buy a new car, say this research was done in a neighborhood or certain neighborhoods where people park their cars in driveways. And so you could see your neighbor's car when you leave the house. And so if the neighbor next to you, the very next driveway over, gets a new car, it has a greater impact on your desire to get a new car than if it's 3 or 4 houses down. If a house around the corner gets a new car, you don't even notice. But if your next door neighbor, the driveway next to yours, has a new car, then you're more likely to want one. And we even see that play out in these commercials where you have different people in their driveways and someone drives through the neighborhood with a new car and they're waving and saying hello to people. Then the people in their driveways are saying, wow, I need to get one of those. That's the social comparison. And what happens when you have more money and you buy things to compare to your neighbors, that doesn't make you happy. That does not elevate your happiness. So you get to a point where the dollar amount itself does not help. Research has shown that that dollar amount in the United States is about $75,000 per household. And the idea is that with $75,000, you should be able to pay for food, shelter, clothing, groceries, electricity, water, all of the things that you need, and there should be money left over for some luxuries, right? Maybe some entertainment, things like that, going out, going to the movies. There's also money for gas or car payments for car insurance. So all of these things are taken care of generally if you're making about $75,000, and then there's enough money left over for you to enjoy life a little to elevate your quality of life. But research has shown that that's about where it peaks. So people who go from $75,000 to $105,000 aren't necessarily happier. Their happiness baseline is kind of stalled. And so they have to find other things to make themselves happy, but they don't really know. And a lot of times this comes from a lack of self-awareness, of not truly understanding what it is that you love to do, what it is that makes you happy. And so you want to make more money, you want to acquire more things to be happier, but it's not going to work. So the question is, can money buy happiness? The answer is no. Money doesn't buy happiness. What money does do is it enables you to gather the resources that you need for survival. It enables you to take care of your basic fundamental needs, and enables you to take care of your family, and enables you to elevate your quality of life to some degree. But after that, once those needs are met, an increase in the number of dollars in your bank account doesn't make you happier. Now, what you can do is use that money to engage in activities that make you happier. So, for example, maybe it's not the having more money, but it's the spending money on traveling. It's the spending money on things that mean something to you, that have value, whether it's supporting certain causes such as animal safety, animal shelters, um, donating money to food banks, things like that, or maybe just being able to provide more things for your family or for your friends, right? It feels good when you know what your friend wants for their birthday and you're able to provide it to them. That's a good feeling. So, money can put you in position to do things that make you happier. If you lack self-awareness, you don't know what those things are. So you have to figure it out. What do you love to do? Do you love art? Do you love music? Do you love working out? Do you love traveling? Those kinds of things. Do you love just tasting new foods, going out to different restaurants? Money allows you to do that. So it's not that money is buying you happiness, but allows you to participate in more activities that you enjoy that can bring you happiness. And really, the way that we are wired, the things that make you happiest are the things that involve other people. So if you had an endless amount of money, but no one to share it with, the loneliness would still creep in, regardless of the number of dollars that you have. So the question, can money buy you happiness? The answer is no, but money does allow you to provide for yourself and your family, which can give you a foundation upon which you can build happiness. And then beyond that, the dollars don't matter. You need to actually go do the things that you love to do. Support causes, do things that have value to you, do things that help you have a sense of achievement, do things to enhance your relationships, things like that. And the truth is, it doesn't take money to do that. You can spend time with your family, even if you have no money. You can just enjoy each other's company and live a life full of gratitude and happiness and really just shared experiences with people you love. So, those are the three questions that I had. Again, you guys can submit questions in the comments. Just let me know. Reach out to me on any of my social media sites. Let me answer them. Let me serve you. And if you'd like to have a more personal conversation, I am an emotional intelligence life coach. I can help you with your healing, whether you're dealing with depression, anxiety, trauma, misery, loneliness, guilt, shame. Really, what I do is I just empower you to love yourself, feel whole again. I empower you to heal. And so if that's what you're looking for, let me know, reach out to me. Let's see if we can work together. And I hope that this episode of the Mental Health and Emotional Intelligence Ask Me Anything provided you some value. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. I appreciate you, and I will see you next time. And take care and have a great week.